Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Sports Mole's Football Shorts. I'm Barney Corkhill. I'm here with our football editor, Matt Law. And we are here to talk about game week 33 of the Premier League season, but an awful lot has happened since we were last here. We've always known a week is a long time in football, but what a week it has been in football. I mean, the whole footballing world imploded a little bit with the European Super League, the remarkable rise and fall of that so-called Super League in the space of about 48 hours. In the midst of that, old Jose Mourinho was sacked, Sheffield United got relegated. So it's just been an incredible week. Plenty to talk about this. There are some consistent times still in all this tumult. Matt still hasn't had a haircut, and we start with Arsenal versus Everton, which is the 200th top flight meeting. A lovely bit of consistency finally within all this chaos we've had in football. Arsenal, one of those teams, obviously in the Super League, one of the 6 Premier League teams to have agreed to the breakaway, despite being 9th in the table, having never won the Champions League, of course. They actually sit behind Everton. A victory for them in tonight's game, Friday night's game, would see them leapfrog Everton in the table. Everton, meanwhile, could go 3 points behind 4th place Chelsea with a victory. Both drew last time out. How do you see this one go, Matt?
Really big one, isn't it? This one, it's a game that obviously it's thrown up some good games down the years, isn't it? Arsenal, Everton, it's usually some dramas. Usually, there's a lot riding on the game, isn't there? You say it's not like it's a Everton win that they're right in that top 4 race. Even if Arsenal win, not in the top 4 race, but Arsenal will still want to finish top 7. They very much can do that, and they'll just be keen to get back to playing football, won't they? Properly, both these sides, as you say, it's been such a mad week. But yeah, really big game, really interesting one. I think the main thing to talk about for this one was the team news for both sides. I think obviously Arsenal been decimated, haven't they? Lacazette's out. Obviously Aubameyang's not quite ready after being hospitalised. Tierney, Luiz, they're both still out. Martinelli might play through the middle. And you're looking at that Arsenal side, and while it's got a lot of talent, it's not massive amounts of goals. But Everton, on the other hand, got a lot of big players back. There was still quite a few players out, but Ancelotti saying that only Doucouré and Jean-Philippe Gabamine, they're the only 2 injuries at the moment. Calvert-Lewin's back, Mina's back, players like that. So it should be a really strong Everton side. And I just fancy Everton here. I immediately went to a draw. I was thinking, it's got a draw written all over it, to be honest. But Arsenal's injuries, their form recently, I know they've had some good results, but last time out against Fulham, they were really poor. Very fortunate to get a point. Saying that, Everton's form's not been good either. They've really missed a chance to push up to the top 4. I think was it 5 6-0 competitions, about a win, 5 in the Premier League, 3 straight draws in the Premier League. So they really need a win. And yeah, I think it will come here. I think it'll be a tight game, but Arsenal's home form's not been good this season. Won 6, drawn 4, lost 6. Everton won 2-1 early this season, and as I say, I think it'll be a tight game. But Everton's players back, Arsenal's missing some key players, so yeah, 2-1 Everton in.
Interesting shout. Yeah, I thought you'd go for a draw in this one. I have gone for a draw. I've gone for 1-1. That's what it seemed to just shout out to me immediately, as you say. Everton 3 draws in a row. Arsenal last time out, really fortunate to get that draw against Fulham, and devastating blow for Fulham, that one in their survival bid. And Arsenal, a little bit of fortune about the goal. There was a question, might it be ruled out for VAR? I think correctly it wasn't ruled out, but a little bit of fortune with the ball getting tipped into Nketiah's path to put that away. So yeah, pretty lucky to get that draw then. On the day that Super League announcement got announced, it would have been fairly fitting if one of the so-called elite had lost at home to a relegation struggling team, but Arsenal did manage to avoid that fate. But still, a home draw against Fulham, it's nothing to celebrate for Arsenal to nick that in the last minute and sort of be celebrating. It shows where they are. 12 defeats this season in the Premier League is an awful tally for them. As you say, they still will be wanting to push for potentially European football next season, Europa League at best. I think it is for them via their league position at least. And then matches like this are important for that, but the Europa League is their priority. I think Arteta's hands are tied, as you say, by a few injuries, but it'll be interesting to see the team selection. Other than that, does he have maybe one eye on that Europa League semi-final against Villarreal coming up next week? So that's probably his priority. So it'll be interesting to see that. But yeah, couldn't really separate the 2 sides. It's interesting that you've gone for an Everton win. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think it could be actually a pretty good shout, but personally I've gone for a 1-1 draw in this one. At 12:30 on Saturday, there's only 8 games this week, by the way, of course, because the EFL Cup. 12:30 on Saturday, first of 3 games on Saturday, is Liverpool versus Newcastle. Liverpool have the chance to move into the top 4 with a victory. The top 4 race amid all that turmoil over the last week took a lot of twists and turns with West Ham, Chelsea dropping points, Tottenham winning, means now there's only 2 points separating fourth place Chelsea from seventh place Liverpool, which means Liverpool, being the first of those teams in action, could move into the top four with a victory over Newcastle. It's a game they usually enjoy, particularly at home, but Newcastle back-to-back wins, huge wins at a huge time of the season to do it as well. We said about the Burnley one being massive, to then go and beat West Ham, not just to pick up the 3 points, but the manner in which it happened, to go 2-0 up, to then, pull it back to 2-2 West Ham, and then for Newcastle to go and get the win shows great resilience, which you didn't necessarily think this Newcastle side had in abundance. But suddenly, those back-to-back wins just changed the landscape of the league completely for Newcastle. I think it's 8 points now, is it? 8 points to the relegation zone now. Suddenly, they're looking more or less safe. 8 points with 6 games left. Fulham only got 5 games left to play. So those two results are just enormous. One more win for Newcastle, and you think now suddenly they're safe. One more win for the last 6 games. They'd fancy their chance of getting that. They've still got to play Sheffield United at home, for example. They'd fancy their chances. So those two results have been massive. If anything, though, I think Liverpool might think that's actually a good thing for them, for Newcastle to have got those 2 wins in the bag. Liverpool think maybe, that they're not going to be fighting for their lives quite anymore. Liverpool against Leeds last time out, 1-1 draw. Another frustrating game for Liverpool. I mean, Leeds in the second half was superb, well worthy of the point. But the frustrating part is Liverpool probably could have wrapped the game up in the first half. They had so many touches in the opposition box, were playing some really good football, created lots of good chances. But again, it was just that final pass, the shots, the finishing touch, which wouldn't go in for Liverpool. And that's been a problem ever since the turn of the year, ever since this dip in form really started happening for Liverpool. That's something they've got to fix, obviously. I was very surprised to see Mo Salah not start against Leeds. I think, it was 5 days, since their last game, 5 days until this game. Premier League's really all Liverpool have got to play for this season. I didn't see too much sense in resting your top scorer in a game which was going to be open, the type of game he would thrive in as well. Scored a hat-trick in the reverse fixture. So that was a bit of a strange one, but you'd expect he'd come back into the side for this one, which should increase Liverpool's goal threat. And despite Liverpool's struggles in front of goal, this is a fixture they usually like. So I've gone for a relatively comfortable 3-1 Liverpool win in this one.
I thought he was going to go 3-0. I was going to say it's a bit generous, but I can see where you're coming from 3-1. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Leeds-Liverpool game was dominated, wasn't it, by talk of the Super League. It was right in what was happening. There was just not a lot of football talk, was there, There was the T-shirt stuff before the game. There was Klopp's interview, Mill's interview after. It was just dominated, wasn't it, by the Super League chat and the game itself. As you say, I mean, Leeds are a good side, aren't they? They're a really, really good side. So it's not an awful result to draw there, but it's not the best. And the fact that West Ham and Chelsea play each other this weekend is even bigger. If Liverpool, as you say, were to get a win here, it really would put them in a really good position moving forward. But coming up against the Newcastle side, I mean, got a lot of criticism, but you say they're safe now. And I mean, you haven't said they're safe, but they're in a very good position. They'll be looking up the table, won't they? Only 3 points off Palace in 13th, only 6 points behind Wolves. If they was to push up to 13th or something, it would be a decent season. Looking at where they were a few weeks ago, certainly, and the quality is a lot better. Obviously, having St. Maximin back, Wilson back is massive. Joelinton was on the score sheet last time out, and Joelinton will benefit from those players now pushing him, because he was getting a lot of game time without a lot of sort of pressure from Callum Wilson to Maximin. But Newcastle's 11. I mean, you look at the 11, certainly midfield and the attack, it shouldn't be really be down there when they're at full strength. It's a good side. Liverpool, as we say, they desperately need to win, and as you say, it is a fixture they have tended to enjoy. The pressure, as you mentioned, is off Newcastle a touch after 2 good wins, and I can just see Liverpool edging it. I'm expecting actually a tight one. I've only gone 2-1 here. I think we both saying Newcastle will score. I think they've got enough. Liverpool's defence is still question marks. Only won 1 of their last 4, Liverpool, in all competitions. So there's still issues there. Obviously, still desperate to finish top 4, and very interesting to see whether they do that. But I expect them to move into the Champions League positions here. With a 2-1 win.
Yeah, I mean, that Leeds game was bizarre to watch as a Liverpool fan. There was just sort of an empty feeling. It almost like it didn't really matter what the result was, because at that stage it looked like, and I thought the Super League was going to go ahead. So, that game just sort of epitomised everything that would have been wrong with the Super League. Suddenly, a big game like that becomes pretty much irrelevant, even to a fan of Liverpool. Just Liverpool's luck this season that it turns out that it did actually matter, and Liverpool go and draw in that game. but that's how it was. Both going for Liverpool wins in that one. You mentioned the West Ham-Chelsea game there. That is a huge game. 5th place West Ham host 4th place Chelsea, level on points in the table, only goal difference separating them. But obviously that all-important Champions League dotted line is also separating them in the table. West Ham, the great entertainers at the moment, 3-3 against Arsenal, followed by 3-2 score lines in a row. They've won 2 of them. They lost the last one against Newcastle, as we just alluded to. Chelsea last weekend, before the Super League news broke out, got into the FA Cup final at Manchester City's expense. A great result for them. And then pretty much as the Super League was collapsing, falling apart, just after they played Brighton in another big game, like Liverpool had a big game in their top 4 amidst all that Super League drama. Chelsea had it against Brighton. That was in sharp contrast to the West Ham games recently. It was a pretty boring 0-0 draw. So perhaps 2 contrasting styles, certainly recently going head-to-head in this game, in a big game for the Champions League race. How do you see it going, Matt?
Yeah, really big one, isn't it? Exactly the same, wasn't it? Chelsea, Brighton, as you say, to the Liverpool game, and empty feeling around the game. Very strange. Obviously, a lot more was happening positively around that in terms of teams withdrawing and the protests and things like that. But still a weird one, still a strange game. And I think Thomas Tuchel actually said, didn't he, that it was a problem, the players thinking about the Super League, the management. It wasn't him saying, "Oh, we're just concentrating on the football." It was an issue. And as you say, Liverpool dropping points, Chelsea dropping points. This is a really, really big one, isn't it? It's a big game anyway, Chelsea-West Ham. But I think last season, you say West Ham like 3-2. It was 3-2 last season at the London Stadium between these two sides. The West Ham, a really good game. Remember, I think Yarmolenko, and it popped up with a late winner after Willian had got a couple, and it was a really entertaining game. And I think West Ham, I think the Chelsea's injury situation is pretty good at the moment. Obviously, Kovacic, Thiago Silva, doubts. But, I mean, West Ham will be without Dawson, won't they? Craig Dawson, who was sent off against Newcastle, the game we just mentioned. Can Cresswell come back in? Cresswell perhaps might be okay. Jesse Lingard had a bit of a knock. He might be okay. Obviously, Rice and Antonio are still out, so missing some big players, West Ham. But they'll fancy that they've proved their credentials this season. Their home form's been really good throughout the season. It's been what they've built their top 4 challenge on. And they're just in and around it. And everyone's talking about West Ham falling away, but they're not falling away. They're banging the race right at the moment. Only 4 points off Leicester as well. I know Leicester won on Thursday, but teams will still be trying to claw those 3rd and 4th teams rather than the top 2 are clear at the moment. But they're the other 2 positions. They just want to stay in touch. Sneak 3rd, sneak 4th. If West Ham finish 5th, listen, it will still be an unbelievable season for them in European football next season. 6th as well, obviously 7th possibly as well. So big game this one, but. I just sat on the fence a touch here, to be honest, and gone 1-1. I think, Chelsea, as we know, the FA Cup, I thought they were really, really good against Man City, to be fair. Man City weren't great, but Chelsea defended ever so well, and they are difficult to break down. And they've had some strange ones. Obviously, the mauling against West Brom, they've conceded a lot of goals, but generally have been pretty good defensively since Thomas Tuchel came to the club. And West Ham deserve a lot of respect, though, and I can understand if you've gone on a away win here. I think you might go draw as well, but I think a tie game, but 1-1.
I have gone an away win. I've gone Chelsea just to edge this one. This was a very difficult one to call. This was, I've just gone for 2-1 to Chelsea. I did go back and forth. I think we'll learn a lot about West Ham from this game. They've picked up some great results, and the home form, can't be sniffed at. It's a really good home form this season. Their last home defeat was that one against Liverpool. They've beaten Tottenham at home since then. They've beaten Leicester at home since then. Should have beaten Arsenal at home since then as well, but ended up drawing that game. So picked up some really good results at home this season, and I wouldn't put it past them to do it again. My fear for West Ham, and like Jurgen Klopp, I love the fact that they've got now the chance to play in Champions League football and challenge for Champions League football next season. And as long as it's not at Liverpool's expense, I'd love to see West Ham make the top 4 this season. I think they deserve it. You say 5th will be a great season. It definitely will be, but there'll be an element of disappointment because they've challenged for so long and are so close at this stage of the season. I think, my fear for them is just that the Newcastle game might knock a bit of wind out their sails, knock a bit of steam out of them, because no one really saw that coming. Newcastle obviously came into it off the back of a win themselves, but most people had West Ham down to win that game, considering the form West Ham were in. And we've said many times on this podcast that it's all about the next game after that, whether it's, a defeat, can they bounce back from that defeat? And make sure that doesn't turn into a bad run of form, get straight back to winning ways. And that's the big challenge for West Ham. Unfortunately for them, it comes in a really difficult game against Chelsea. As you say, defensively, they've been really good. So West Ham's hopes of scoring 3 goals again look relatively slim. But again, you can't put it past West Ham. So it's one of those games I wouldn't really be surprised to see West Ham win. I wouldn't be surprised to see a draw. I've just gone for a Chelsea victory. I think under Thomas Tuchel, they've got more of a knack of seeing out these sorts of games. The game management is a lot better. They can sneak wins by 1 goal, which they seem to be doing quite a lot under Thomas Tuchel, really. And they've got the players, obviously, to do that with defensively and going forward. So I've just gone for Chelsea to win this, to sneak this one 2-1. Obviously, they've got Real Madrid to look forward to next week in the Champions League semi-finals, another huge match. But again, this is a huge match for their chance of getting in the Champions League next season. So they can't really afford to take their eye off the ball in this one. And I've just gone for Chelsea 2-1 in that one. But certainly a very interesting one. Sheffield United are in action at 8 p.m. on Saturday. We mentioned in the intro to this podcast that they were relegated with that 1-0 defeat against Wolves last time out. It was a long time coming. It seems like a long time ago now, before all that Super League drama kicked off. But they are now officially down and will be playing Championship football next season. It's 6 defeats in a row across all competitions now, 5 defeats in a row in the Premier League. They host the Brighton side coming into this one off the back of goalless draws against Everton and Chelsea respectively. They're on 34 points from their 32 games. They're 7 points clear of danger. So not quite entirely out yet, but still that good cushion, and sort of similar to Newcastle. You'd think 1 win, maybe 1 win, a draw from their remaining fixtures would be enough to see them safe. Obviously, this is a good-looking fixture for them to get it. Sheffield United, it'd be interesting to see how they finish the season. The shackles are off now. They've got absolutely nothing to lose. They can start planning for next season. Are they going to, let loose? And sometimes we can see relegated teams just improve after their relegation because that pressure's off. Not really sure whether Sheffield United are going to be that sort of team. I don't feel like they're the team that's been playing with huge pressure on their shoulders, or even, not giving their all, and suddenly might do with that without the pressure on their shoulders. They're not that sort of team. I think they're unfortunately just a team that's not good enough, particularly with all the injuries they've had this season, which have played a huge role, of course. Last week, I regretted not going for 1-0 to Sheffield United. I purposefully didn't, because I seem to always go for 1-0 Sheffield United, either for or against, and they went and lost 1-0 when I predicted 2-0, when you predicted 1-0. I'm not going to make the same mistake this week. I've gone for Brighton to win this one 1-0.
1-0, yeah. I've gone different to you. Slightly, yeah. I mean, Sheffield United, it's just been a disastrous season. It wasn't that long ago that they were. I mean, when we played last season, they were just so difficult. Such a hard game, wasn't it, Sheffield United last season, especially before, obviously, all the lockdown things. First half of last season was so good, such a strong side and very dangerous, capable of beating anyone. But yeah, it's just completely fallen apart, isn't it? As you say, the injuries haven't helped them. I mean, they took the team they put out against Wolves last time out. It was just a lot different to the one that, I mean, there's still a lot of the similar players, but I just think going forward, Osborne played forward. Brewster's just not happened at all, has it, for Brewster since he's obviously a talented player, but just can't get going. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with him. But yeah, Brighton, I mean, in the table, as you say, they're not at this stage completely safe, but I'd be astounded if Brighton got pulled into any sort of danger that would rely on Fulham to win. I mean, Fulham don't play this weekend, do they? Obviously, they're on 33 games, so they're just struggling so bad at the moment, Fulham, that I'm struggling to see Brighton getting pulled into it, especially their form recently. I think it's 1 defeat from the last 5, and that was at Old Trafford. Were really good in that game, particularly in the first half. Good against Newcastle, obviously held Everton and Chelsea, 2 very good results considering where the teams are in the table. And yeah, I just think Brighton will have too much here. I think it's a good setup, good manager, good set of players, and I expect them to push on again next season. Obviously, they'll be without Ben White in this game. He was sent off last time out, so he'll be suspended. So you fancy there'll be a change at the back. Probably be a back three. He seems to like that. Maybe Veltman going back there from a wing back and Moda coming into a wing back position. It seems to be the formation that he does like. So no real surprises there. Sheffield United, be pretty similar. The injury situation is pretty similar at the moment. So yeah, expect a tight game. You've gone 1-0. I've just gone 2-0 Brighton here.
Yeah, both back in Brighton to win. They were good against Chelsea. Probably should have won that one. They had the best chances. Welbeck hit in the post, of course. But both going Brighton to win that one. On Sunday at 12 p.m, we've got Wolves versus Burnley. Wolves were the team that beat Sheffield United and relegated them last time out with that 1-0 win. Made it back-to-back 1-0 wins against Fulham and Sheffield United. That's lifted them up to 12th place. If they can finish the season strongly, they could salvage a decent season, really, after a season which has, on the whole, been a bit underachieving. Burnley, on the other hand, are now the team closest to the relegation zone. Still a 6-point cushion, as you say. Fulham not in action this weekend, so they could extend that gap to a pretty comfortable level, but 3 consecutive defeats. Thing about Burnley, only 1 win in 9, but I think their last 6 games, both teams have scored in, which you don't really associate with Burnley. You usually associate them with slightly gritty 1-0 defeats, similar maybe to Sheffield United, 1-0 defeats or 1-0 wins. And judging by Wolves' last 2 games, both with being 1-0, I naturally went towards a 1-0 win in this one, but I have just gone for 1-1. I think Burnley, as I say, they're finding the back of the net with regularity at the moment. They were decent against Manchester United until those 2 United late goals. So yeah, I've just gone for 1-1 in this one.
Oh yeah, I've gone 0-0 where we've gone against what you've said. I think Burnley's last 0-0 was February against West Brom. Not since then, they haven't drawn 0-0. So it's a result that sticks in my 0-0 that when I think about Burnley, as we say, but as you say, the goals have been flying in at both ends of the field in their games recently. Wolves, talk of the manager's futures again cropping up, isn't it? Nuno potentially might walk away at the end of the season. Reports are saying, perhaps to Spain, but a lot of interest from the Liga. It seems like that is the case, but they're looking for potential replacements. But as you say, won their last 2, Wolves. I mean, they're 12th in the table now. Can they push into the top half? I'm not sure they can catch Leeds. Maybe Villa. Villa got game in hand. So I think Wolves will finish around where they are, 12th, 13th. And it's not a disastrous season. You have to remember where Wolves came from, in the second tier, then came up and finished 7th twice, which was so impressive. But I just think similar situation to Sheffield United have had injuries this season to key players. It's still a very good team. You look at their 1-11, especially when they're at full strength. It is a very solid side that's capable of pushing next season if they make the right investments into the top half. But Burnley, the United game was strange last time out for Burnley. I think Chris Wood scored, didn't he, very early on. It was disallowed, but really caused United problems. Tarkowski obviously equalising, then United got the Greenwood deflection, and then Cavani late on. So 3-1 slightly flattered the home side, and Burnley were good in that game. But yeah, I just think Burnley unfortunately, I've probably come to accept that I think Fulham might probably will go down. I think Burnley will be okay because of the gap. But if they lose here, I think Burnley play Fulham, don't they? Yeah, Burnley play Fulham in start of May, 10th of May. So if Fulham can just claw them back, if Burnley can, lose their next 2 and Fulham beat them, you never know. But it's a tough one. I think they'll get a point here, 0-0.
0-0 for Matt. Both over draws in that one. There's a big game at 2 p.m. on Sunday. Old rivalry between Leeds and Manchester United. Both teams coming into it in pretty good form, actually. Manchester United have won their last 5 games in all competitions and last 5 in the Premier League, which I think I'm right in saying is their best run of form since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first 6 in charge of the club, when they won all 6 of them. Only 1 defeat in the last 20 across all competitions for Manchester United. Really good run of form they're on. And Leeds have finally started to show a bit of consistency. They're unbeaten in the last 5 games. They've won 3 of them, including obviously a magnificent victory at Manchester City, then that draw against Liverpool, which could have been a victory for them as well. Obviously another huge game. You've struggled to find 3 more difficult games in a row than Man City, Liverpool, and then Manchester United, but they've got 4 points out of the first 2 of them. They'll fancy their chances again of raising their game against probably their biggest rivals. To get at least a point out of this game. They'll really fancy their chance. How do you see this one go, Matt?
Yeah, so it's a really big one, isn't it? Really interesting, and not perhaps the biggest in terms of what's at stake for both clubs. It's not like, United are going for the title, Leeds are pushing top four or something like that. But always big games, these ones. And they're earlier this season, it was a cracker, wasn't it? 6-2 at Old Trafford. Bielsa got a lot of criticism, didn't he, for his style in that game? But I think Leeds, he's proved himself over the course of the season. I think it's the first fixture this will be at Ellen Road since the Premier League since 2003. So I think Roy Keane got the winner for United on that day. So it'll be, that was 1-0. I expect goals in this one. I think very interesting to see what Solskjaer does team selection wise, because obviously the second leg against Roma, the first leg against Roma, sorry, I should say, is next week. But United have had a week off. It hasn't happened often in recent weeks, certainly not in 2021. They've had a week off since the Burnley game. Obviously, you say a week off, but the talk, obviously, one of the founding clubs of the Super League is before quickly pulling out. Obviously, the Ed Woodward stuff has gone. There's talk of, the new director of football perhaps might go with Woodward. There's a lot of talk behind the scenes, but United have to. And you say they had to concentrate. The players always have to concentrate what's happening on the field. But I think now they can. Now it looks like, obviously, thankfully, the Super League, not according to, Florentino Perez, he's still trying to push for it. But it looks like it. I mean, it's not going to happen, is it? It's certainly not in this current format. So United can just get on with playing. And they, as I said earlier, they are relatively safe, aren't they, now in the top four? Really good form. I think 11 points above West Ham. The title, I think Man City's win over Villa. I think if they hadn't won that, Man City, United would just have a little bit of an eye on City, because obviously City have played a game more. But I think United is all about just keeping ticking over, keeping that winning feeling, and hopefully obviously beat Roma, and then they play Liverpool, don't they? Roma's second leg, and could be really, if they finish second to win the Europa League, what an excellent season that would be, and hopefully push on next season. But Leeds as well. Leeds' season's been fantastic, 10th, level on points of Arsenal, not far away from Everton. So if they go and draw this game, Leeds can pull into the top 10. Sort of staying around 8th and 9th. And if Leeds were to finish, 8th or 9th this season, what a season that would be. Attractive club, good manager. They'll obviously invest again this summer. Got some really good players and were really good against Liverpool. So, yeah, it's an excellent game, one I'm looking forward to. Two sides in good form, and I expect it to be open. I've gone 2-2 here. I just think United, I can't really back them to go and win. These are a really good side, and as I say, United will have one eye on that Europa League game. So, yeah, entertaining 2-2.
2-2 for Matt. Yeah, it's a huge couple of weeks or so for United, isn't it? Leeds and then Liverpool, both legs against Roma, massive for them. Obviously, in terms of the actual value of the result, you'd probably say the Roma games are more important because they're knockout. And it looks like they've got certainly Champions League football and probably second place wrapped up in the Premier League. So it's not the end of the world if they go and lose these games against Leeds and Liverpool. But obviously, two of their biggest rivals, they don't want to do that. It will be interesting. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned focusing on the field matters for Manchester United, but obviously, their training ground got stormed by fans yesterday. So it'd be interesting to see if that does have any effect. There's still a lot of ill feeling and anger amongst the supporters of Manchester United, as there is every English club, certainly, that was involved in the Super League, and rightly so towards the owners for trying to take, the essence of, and the fabric of the game and the football pyramid away from the fans. So it will be interesting to see if any of that spills out onto the field. Obviously, all that news started sort of to break during or just before the Manchester United win over Burnley. So the players wouldn't have really known anything about it then. This will be the first game since it broke that they would have been in action. So as I say, yeah, will be interesting to see that have any, if that has any effect. We've seen other managers admit that it has, but that was at an earlier development stage of the Super League. Now it does look to be dead and buried, thank God. So it will be interesting to see. But obviously, as I mentioned, the fan storm in the training ground will probably have some sort of impact. Whether it has enough of an impact to affect the outcome of this game, we can only wait and see. But yeah, as you say, Leeds are going to give them enough problems even without all that. They're a really good team, as you mentioned, go toe-to-toe with these big teams. Didn't work out for them in the reverse fixture. I just feel we've probably seen what this game is going to be a number of times before. Leeds are probably going to go ahead, and then Manchester United are going to come back and win away from home. And Bruno Fernandes will probably score a penalty. So yeah, I've gone for a 2-1 Manchester United winning this one. It's another one of those which could be anything. I mean, look at Leeds' symmetry in the table, just tells you all you need to know about them. Just 10th place, 14 wins, 14 defeats, 50 goals for, 50 goals against. That sums them up better than any words can probably, Leeds this season. So you don't really know what to expect from them. They could go and win this one. They could go and get hit for 6 again, and they could be an entertaining draw, as you're predicting. But yeah, I'm just backing Manchester United to win this one 2-1. I think they're in great form at the moment. Seem to be winning games, even when not at the best. I think I'd class that Burnley game in that getting the job done, even though they won by 2 goals. They weren't at their best, and that 3-1 scoreline, as you say, flattered them a little bit. But yeah, I can see them getting another win under their belts here. And making another step towards Champions League football next season mathematically. I've gone for 2-1 in that one. Matt's gone for a 2-2 draw. Rounding off the action on Sunday at 7 p.m. is the West Midlands derby between Aston Villa and West Bromwich Albion. Villa only 1 win in the last 7 games, beaten by Manchester City last time out, despite taking a very early lead in that one. West Brom saw their mini revival after back-to-back wins against Chelsea and Southampton end against Leicester on Thursday night, 3-0 defeat. Disappointing and probably the final nail in the coffin, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah, it was. I think before that, as you say, back-to-back the wins have given themselves a chance. But yeah, he just felt like it was always going to be a tough game against Leicester. Leicester desperate to obviously clinging on to, well, not clinging on, maybe it's a bit harsh, but just trying to stay in the top 4, you know, with a lot of pressure coming from the teams behind them. And Leicester were always going to be fired up for that one. And just a game too far for West Brom in the end. I think, obviously, where they are in the table now, the gap is, 9 points now, isn't it? So it's not going to happen, is it? I don't think they've shown a lot, but it's just, as we say, it's the typical thing, far too late. And I do think those 3 now will go down. Obviously, Sheff Utd are down, West Brom, Fulham. You know, it's just, I think they'll go down. It's Burnley. It obviously depends on Burnley. I think Brighton will be fine, but yeah, but I mean, West Brom, I think there's a lot of positives they can take from the last few weeks, you know, moving on to next season. They've obviously got a good set of players there. It'll be interesting to see whether they can keep a few, perhaps add a few, because there will be an attractive club, won't there, in the Championship? There's no doubt about that. There'll be a Norwich. Obviously, Norwich this season in the Championship have been so good, and you put West Brom. I don't expect West Brom to go down and then spend, 4 or 5 years in the Championship. I think they'll make a good push, at least for the playoffs next season, because they'll have a good squad. But Villa, yeah, the City game, I mean, Villa have been so close the last couple of games, haven't they? Were really good against Liverpool for long spells, just lost, just got beaten by City after taking the lead early on. And, no Matty Cash for this game. He was sent off, wasn't he, against Man City? A really open and entertaining game, to be fair. A lot of mistakes and things happening at either end. But yeah, obviously Grealish being injured. It's still, I mean, Villa, I think they won 3-0 earlier this season in the reverse game, but that was during a stage where Villa were really pushing. You fancy they might be a Europa League challenging side. Now they're 11th, which is where you would have expected them to be. It's still a good season. They've got game in hand over Everton and Arsenal and Leeds. Sorry, not Everton. They've got a game in hand over Arsenal and Leeds, just above them. So to win this game, put themselves in a good position and could still finish top 10 or top 12 would be good as well. So yeah, it's a nice game, I think, for Villa, especially obviously a game, two teams that don't like each other very much, to say the least. So a tight game, but yeah, Villa 2-1 here.
Yeah, I've gone Villa as well. I've gone 2-0 in this one. I think if West Brom had maybe even nicked a draw against Leicester or only narrowly lost to them, I'd maybe back a different result. And West Brom maybe would just have that little glimmer of hope still. But I think, 9 points to safety, 6 games left. It's looking really unlikely that they're going to get out of it. Such hard to overcome that gap, especially when you've got the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, West Ham to come later in the season, end the season away to Leeds. They've got to win this game and then against Wolves really to stand any chance at all. But as I say, I think that 3-0 defeat and the manner of it against Leicester just sort of extinguishes their hope at all. Obviously, the manner of their wins before that, 5-2 away to Chelsea, 3-0 at home to Southampton, suddenly started making people think, could it possibly happen? Because they've got the players to score those goals. They were in good form. But yeah, as I say, I just think that defeat and the manner of it to Leicester has just taken the wind out of their sails at the worst possible time. And they'd got themselves to a stage where pretty much every game was must win if they were to survive. So to go and lose to Leicester 3-0, I think, as I said, is the final nail in the coffin. Aston Villa obviously have been very inconsistent. And that's why I think if West Brom had got anything out of that Leicester game, even a draw, they would have fancied their chance of taking the game to Aston Villa, capitalising on that inconsistency recently. But Villa have had some tough fixtures recently as well. You've got to factor that into their inconsistency. So yeah, I'm backing Aston Villa to get the victory here, as you are. I've gone for 2-0. Matt's gone for 2-1 in that one. On Monday night, rounding off the game week, is Leicester versus Crystal Palace. Leicester, as we just mentioned there, were the team to beat West Brom 3-0, got back to winning ways after back-to-back Premier League defeats. They had beaten Southampton in the FA Cup to advance to the FA Cup final. Huge occasion that will be for the club, and a really good chance to get a rare piece of silverware for Leicester. But as the 3-0 win over West Brom was almost as valuable in the Premier League to open that gap, particularly with the teams behind them in the top 4 race, Chelsea, West Ham and Liverpool, all dropping points over the weekend. To go and pick that win opens the gap to 4 points between them and 5th place West Ham. Huge result for them. I mentioned it last week as well, considering what happened last season after lockdown, throwing that top 4 spot away, to have picked up that win. Big result for them, especially going into games against Crystal Palace and Southampton and Newcastle, all of which they'll really fancy their chance of winning. If they can win those 3 games, they'll go a long, long way towards securing their top 4 spot, which, we shouldn't overlook it just because, they've been there most of the season. It's a remarkable achievement, a fantastic season it would have been for Leicester if they can clinch that top 4 spot. Even if they can't, we mentioned it with West Ham, it'd still be a good season. But yeah, they'll be desperate to get over the line this time around. And they're playing the Crystal Palace side who haven't been in action now for 16 days. Their last result was the 4-1 home defeat against Chelsea. Mentioned them a few times, 13th in the table, not going to get dragged into the relegation battle, probably too far away even now to be pushing for a top 10 spot. Managers' futures under scrutiny, a lot of players under scrutiny. So yeah, a lot for them to decide in the final weeks of the season. For me, this is a pretty kind fixture for Leicester. I've gone for a 2-0 Leicester win in this one. I can just see them getting the victory they need. And as I say, I think that win over West Brom was so important for them after shaky back-to-back defeats against Man City and West Ham. No shame in either defeat. Both of those teams have been really good this season. But the importance of not dropping points at home to West Brom in a game you'd expect to win, huge for them. And I think this game falls under that category as well. And I'd expect Leicester to pick up a win. So I've gone for 2-0 on this one.
Yeah, I've gone 2-0 as well. I think it's the first one we've gone the same. Is it this week?
We have,
It's been different. Yeah, so yeah, 2-0 for the same reasons. Leicester, I think Palace last time out against Chelsea, I think Chelsea were good on the day, but I just thought Palace was so poor in that game. They conceded a goal every time Chelsea attacked. They looked pretty much like they were going to score. I think He's been a really good player for Palace this season. He's been a real positive of their season, but as you say, a lot of turmoil. There'll be a lot of changes, players out of contract, as you mentioned, that we seem to talk about a lot. That was very interesting to see what happens with Palace next season. I think the team that starts the first game of next season will be completely different, potentially a new manager as well. Obviously want to take the club in perhaps a new direction, because what are Palace really doing at the moment? I know obviously staying in the league is very good, but they're not good enough, are they, to potentially push? Look at teams like Leeds, who have shown that they could potentially be good enough with the right signings to push for top 7. Villa have had a little bit of a go this season. West Ham, Palace, what are they really going to do in terms of moving forward? And that's obviously something that the supporters want to see progress. But Leicester, I think, especially after the back-to-back defeats to City and West Ham, especially the West Ham one, I was worried. I think there was concern that they might get pulled out. But to go and beat Southampton, FA Cup final, and then go and beat West Brom, what a season that would be if Leicester could win the FA Cup and finish top 4, even if they could. Or very interested to see what one they'd prefer. I think they'd probably prefer to finish top 4, even though it's the FA Cup is a trophy. It's such a. What would you think they'd prefer? They've got top 4 over FA Cup, would they?
I'd say FA Cup all day long for a club like Leicester who don't really get many silverware. FA Cup final at Wembley is something you're going to tell your grandkids about. You're not going to tell that if you get the top 4. I think they'll go.
Barney, about this, the owners and the money, and I see what you're saying. I think it's the romance of it, but I'm not sure. It's certainly an interesting talking point. Obviously, they'll want both. They could win both. They could beat Chelsea one-off game. No problem at all. But yeah, Vardy ending his goal drought, didn't he, against West Brom? Obviously, his form has been called into a little bit of question. Iheanacho's become the main man, hasn't he, going forward? He's what a great second half of the season he's had. And yeah, it's just very interesting. I think obviously the pressure from some of the teams behind Leicester, not good enough to be picked by, the Super League elite, but they're having much better seasons than Tottenham, Liverpool, Arsenal, teams that were, good enough to be in that, so-called breakaway. But really good season for Leicester. Good character to go and beat West Brom, because West Brom would have been in really good confidence. And, obviously they've had off-the-field problems, Leicester, Maddison, the issues are, I think it's Chowdhury as well, wasn't it? And Perez that had a bit of perhaps a breach in there, but Maddison was back, and he's obviously a big player for them going forward. And yeah, really big game, as we say, a nice game for for Leicester. I think it's a nice game against Southampton as well, and Newcastle, as you say, before they play United and Chelsea in back-to-back games, and then they FA Cup final and then at home to Tottenham. So it really exciting end to the season for Leicester. And yeah, I think this is a nice game for them. I don't think there'll be any shocks. 2-0, same as you.
Yeah, so both going for 2-0 in that final match of the game week. Thank you, Matt. We'll be back next week for our next round of predictions. Let's hope for a slightly quieter week in football in the meantime. You can find all these previews and many more over on sportsmod.co.uk. We've got previews for all the big European games in there. We've got the Championship and Copa Libertadores around the world as well. So plenty of previews you can check out over on sportsmod.co.uk. As I say, Matt and I will be back next week for our next round of predictions. You can subscribe on all the usual podcast channels to make sure you don't miss an episode. And you can also subscribe on YouTube to make sure you don't miss an episode. So we look forward to seeing you next week.